On our wedding anniversary, Adrien Croft arrived late, holding a child. He said, "Accept this child, and you can still be Mrs. Croft." A wave of whispers went through the crowd. Everyone knew how desperately I loved Adrien. Everyone thought I would, as I always had, compromise and agree. I stood up, gave the champagne tower behind me a gentle push, and watched the man before me with cold eyes. "As you wish, we're getting a divorce," Adrien asked, confused. "Is it really so hard for you to adopt one child?" "Adopting a child isn't hard. What's hard is raising his child with his first love." Shards of glass and liquid flew everywhere, and the banquet descended into chaos. Our 5th wedding anniversary, which I had spent nearly a month meticulously planning, was ruined. My husband, Adrien Croft, seemed to have forgotten what day it was. His eyes were only for the child. Adrien assumed my actions were a fit of pique over his tardiness. After calming the guests, he walked over to me, still holding the child. He wrapped an arm around my waist. "Stop it, Camila, you're scaring everyone." I struggled free. "If you insist on this, then let's adopt a different child. I don't like this one." This was the last concession I could make, and also a test for him. "Why, Camila, you love children. Isn't it good for us to have a child of our own?" "Camila, look at him. He's so chubby and cute." Adrien brought the child closer, wanting me to see more clearly. He took my hand, trying to make me to accept this child. The baby in the swaddling clothes was fair and clean, looking to be only 2 or 3 months old. The baby's features resembled his mother more. Adrien's first love, Isabelle Reed. He waved his little arms and smiled at me, an angelic smile that seemed capable of healing all the world's ills. "See, he's smiling at you. I told you this child was meant for us." Clearly, Adrien had let me down. I irritably pulled my hand back, took a few steps away, and put some distance between us. He thought that on an occasion like this, I wouldn't refuse, that he could force me to compromise. But I felt I could no longer maintain the so-called dignity of Mrs. Croft. I looked past him and suddenly laughed. "Adrien, are you so insistent on adopting this child because of her?" Isabelle Reed, standing in the crowd, instantly became the center of attention. She stood there uneasily, her eyes welling up with tears, trying to defend herself. "Miss Thorne, Adrien and I are in the past. How could this child possibly be ours? I never said the child was yours and Adrien's." "Miss Reed, why are you in such a hurry to deny it? Or is it that this child really is yours and Adrien's?" Isabelle bit her lower lip, unable to say another word. The stares of the people around us, their sharp words, were all directed at her. I was wondering why Mrs. Croft, who always gives in, was so adamant this time. It turns out the child was born of the other woman, not adopted. Other woman, I heard she was Mr. Croft's first love, and now she's his personal secretary. If it weren't for the old Mrs. Croft's disapproval back then, she would be Mrs. Croft now. So what if she's his first love? She interfered in a marriage, got pregnant out of wedlock. Doesn't that make her a homewrecker? Don't forget, Mr. Croft's wife is Miss Thorne. They are legally married. What does that make Isabelle Reed? Isabelle's face was pale, tears clinging to her eyelashes. She looked at Adrien for help. "That's enough, Camila." Adrien shielded Isabelle, and with a single look, the banquet fell silent. After all, everyone feared the Croft family's power in the city. "Isabelle is just my secretary now. Don't make things difficult for her." I suddenly felt so tired. It seemed I could no longer live a good life with him, as my grandmother had hoped. I looked down at the wedding ring I had worn for 5 years, a fine, sharp pain spreading through my heart. I took it off. I've had enough of being Mrs. Croft. I threw it without a second thought. It flew in an arc and landed in the swimming pool with a soft splash, just like our marriage, which had begun with a grand roar and ended in silence. In the stunned silence of Adrien and the other guests, I lifted my skirt and turned to leave. In their eyes, I had always been the gentle, dignified Mrs. Croft who always considered the bigger picture. This time, I had lost my composure. The party ended on a sour note. That night, Adrien didn't come home. The butler told me he had taken Isabelle and her son home. I didn't call to ask, and he didn't send me a single message. In the morning, when Adrien returned, I was eating breakfast. He took off his coat and handed it to a servant, then pulled out a chair and sat down. Halfway through my meal, I lost my appetite and got up to leave. I didn't look at him once, nor did I greet him. He suddenly called out to me, "Don't you have anything to ask me?" What did he want me to ask? About the child, or where he was last night? In the past, I would have had a hysterical fight with him, but what did that ever get me? Adrien would frown impatiently and say, stop being unreasonable. Isabelle and I just have a professional relationship. A professional relationship that produced a child, and last night, on Isabelle's social media, he was kissing her, wrapped in a passionate embrace. Now I was truly tired. I didn't want to ask, but he was asking me why. I slowly turned. Adrien was watching me, as if expecting something. I looked away, took a file from the cabinet, and placed it in front of him. Adrien, let's get a divorce. His face stiffened. You want a divorce over such a small thing? He always downplayed everything, as if I were the one in the wrong, the unreasonable one. My long nails dug into my flesh. I looked at the nonchalant Adrien. That child wasn't adopted. He's yours and Isabelle's, isn't he? The day I finished my last surgery, a colleague in the obstetrics department told me Adrien had come to pick me up. I didn't even have time to change. I rushed over, afraid to keep him waiting. I found him outside the delivery room. A nurse was holding a newborn and congratulating him. Congratulations, Mr. Croft. It's a healthy boy. Adrien held the baby, his eyes filled with an undisguised joy. Isabelle lay weakly on the hospital bed, her eyes tearful and pitiful. Adrien, he stroked her hair and placed a kiss on her forehead. You've worked hard, Isabelle. Thank you for giving me a son. I stood there, stunned, as if struck by lightning, wondering if I had misheard. A nurse from the obstetrics department couldn't help but ask, Mr. Croft, didn't you say she was your sister? Adrien's expression instantly changed. He threatened, if any of you dare to spread this, you know the consequences. I tried to tell myself it was a mistake. Adrien wasn't that kind of person, but I was wrong. From the moment he started suggesting we adopt a child, I was wrong. A flicker of surprise crossed Adrien's eyes. He slowly took out a cigarette and lit it. There was no panic at being exposed. Camila, you should know that in our circles, it's not unusual for a man to have a woman on the side. It certainly wasn't unusual, especially when that woman was his long-beloved first love. But I couldn't be like other wives and condone my husband's infidelity, couldn't turn a blind eye. Adrien took a deep drag from his cigarette and continued, you should also know that if you hadn't forced Isabelle away back then, the position of Mrs. Croft would never have been yours. From the very beginning, no matter how I explained it, he always believed I was the one who drove Isabelle out of the country. A month before our wedding, I had clearly asked him. He had said he wanted to marry me, that he was willing. How had it become my fault now? The thick smoke wouldn't dissipate, and it made me cough until tears came to my eyes. Adrien glanced at me, his long-fingered hand stubbing out the cigarette. He knelt before me. He frowned and wiped the tears from my cheeks. Are you that upset? You were quite formidable at the party yesterday. Don't worry, I promised Grandma. Mrs. Croft will always be you. If you want, you can raise the child. Grandma has always wanted a grandson, and the Croft Corporation needs an heir. If you're unwilling, Isabelle can raise him herself. I'll set her up somewhere else and make sure she doesn't bother you. Hearing his words, I couldn't help but laugh. I didn't even want to be a wealthy wife anymore. Why would I raise someone else's child? At the hospital, I went to the director's office. The director held my resignation letter and asked me again and again, have you thought this through? The conditions there are harsh and dangerous. It's nothing like being here. I didn't hesitate. I've thought it through. I've already passed the interview. Please sign it. Director, for the past 5 years, I had strived to be a good Mrs. Croft, even managing his social life outside of my own work. From now on, I no longer had to play the part of anyone's wife. I just had to be myself. I was glad I hadn't quit my job as a doctor for him. Otherwise, I would be unemployed now. After leaving the director's office, I handed over my work. I quickly packed my things and said goodbye to my colleagues. On the way home, I received a call from Adrien's grandmother. She asked me and Adrien to come to the family estate for dinner. The 15th of every month was the Croft family's regular family dinner. I watched the scenery flash by outside the window. After much hesitation, I called Adrien. What is it? His voice was cold. I could almost picture his icy face. I held the phone. My lips parted. Grandma wants us to come to the estate for dinner. I know. He had been so cold since Isabelle returned. He hung up so quickly. It wasn't hard to guess who he was with. It was almost sunset when I arrived at the estate. Adrien and I were busy with work, and Grandma didn't want to live with us, afraid of disturbing us, so we had agreed to come back for dinner on the 15th of every month, no matter how busy we were. Seeing me, Grandma stood up happily. When she saw I was alone, she was a little displeased. Camila, why are you here by yourself? Where's Adrien? I smiled. He has a last-minute meeting. He'll be here later. Then I handed my things to a servant and helped Grandma inside. Adrien didn't arrive until it was time for dinner. He habitually peeled shrimp for me and placed food in my bowl. I didn't refuse, just ate my meal in silence. We barely spoke a few words throughout the entire meal. After dinner, Grandma pulled me into a room. She asked if Adrien and I were fighting. I didn't know how to answer. The truth seemed too cruel for her. She seemed to read my mind, her cloudy eyes fixed on me. Did that rascal Adrien bully you? You tell Grandma. I'll teach him a lesson for you. I shook my head. Grandma, if I said I wanted to divorce Adrien, would you be angry with me? Camila, don't worry. Grandma will make sure you get justice. Grandma suddenly became agitated and was about to go find Adrien. I quickly calmed her down. It's no use, Grandma. He doesn't have me in his heart. You can't force matters of love. I spent 5 years trying, but I couldn't win his heart. For the rest of my life, I don't want to be tied to him. It will only bring us both pain. Divorcing him is a decision I've made after careful consideration. It's not a whim. I had hoped you and Adrien could be happy together, supporting each other. I never thought it would come to this. Grandma's aged hands covered mine. She let out a long sigh. Very well. Our Camila is so outstanding. You deserve someone better. Grandma, I actually came here today to say goodbye. Hearing this, Grandma became agitated. What are you doing? Even if you and Adrien get a divorce, as long as I'm here, you will always have a place in this family. My eyes started to burn. I said, I've applied to Doctors Without Borders. I'm leaving in a few days. Grandma froze for a moment. Then her eyes reddened. Camila, listen to Grandma. Just stay here in the city. Don't go anywhere. I knew what she was worried about. My parents were with Doctors Without Borders. They had died on their last mission in a war zone. I remember that day. I sat on the floor, throwing a tantrum, begging them not to go. My mother gently stroked my hair. Be good, Camila. Mommy and Daddy are doctors. We have to go where we're needed. We promise. This is the last time. When the mission is over, we'll never leave again. Be good for Grandma at home. Don't be naughty. My mother was a liar. She promised she would come back, but she broke her promise. Our two families had been friends for generations. After my own grandmother passed away, I was taken in by the Croft family. Grandma Croft treated me like her own granddaughter. Adrien was being punished by Grandma, forced to kneel in the courtyard. I knew she was doing it for me, but what was the use? He would never love me. By noon the next day, Grandma still hadn't relented. Under the scorching sun, Adrien's forehead was beaded with sweat, but he remained silent, kneeling straight. Isabelle somehow got the news and came over. Adrien's voice was hoarse. He snapped at her. What are you doing here? Go back. I'm not going to just stand by and watch you be punished. Isabelle's eyes filled with tears. She gritted her teeth and knelt before the Croft family, holding the child. Grandma, it's all my fault. Please don't punish Adrien. Grandma looked down at her, her voice cold. Miss Reed, don't call me that. I can't bear the title. I'm disciplining my own grandson. What has it got to do with you? Isabelle's face turned from blue to white. The baby's cries gave her courage. I know you look down on me, Grandma, but this child is Adrien's, a descendant of the Croft family. Are you going to disown him too? Grandma's reaction was slow. She thought she was getting old, that her hearing was failing her. What did you say? Isabelle straightened her back and said, word for word. I said, the child in my arms is mine and Adrien's. Grandma composed herself. Her grip on my hand tightened. She looked at her disappointing grandson. Is what she said true? Adrien lowered his eyes. Silent. Camila, you tell me, is she telling the truth? I didn't answer. Grandma, please calm down. Let me help you sit down. Adrien's silence was an answer in itself. Grandma already knew, but she just couldn't believe that the grandson she had raised would do such a thing. After a long silence, Adrien said, the child is mine. Grandma's gaze swept over the three of us, and she suddenly gasped for air. You're trying to kill me. Isabelle gave me a mocking smile, then put on a show of being understanding and generous. I never wanted to compete with Miss Thorne for anything. This child was an accident. I know Miss Thorne can never have children again. If you are willing, Miss Thorne, this child can be raised by you. From now on, you will be his real mother. I will not have a single complaint. Before I could speak, Adrien's father, who had rushed back from the company, first reprimanded Adrien. Then he asked if the child was his. After getting a confirmation, he let out a heavy sigh and said to Grandma, Mother, it's come to this. Even if you don't approve of the child's birth mother, you can't disown the child. He is, after all, a descendant of the Croft family. Camila and Adrien have been married for so long without a child. Why don't we let Camila raise him? My hand, uncontrollably, went to my lower abdomen. There used to be a baby here too. He was also so eagerly anticipated. When I was 3 months pregnant, a business rival of Adrien's had kidnapped me for revenge. In that accident, I lost the baby, my body was damaged, and I could no longer get pregnant. I had drunk bowl after bowl of bitter herbal medicine to no avail. I hated taking medicine. Adrien had been heartbroken then. He said it didn't matter if we didn't have children, as long as we were together. I thought our lives would continue peacefully like that, until Isabelle appeared. Everything changed. He grew colder and more distant. Before I could speak, Grandma's chest heaved with anger, and she smashed the teacup in her hand. You still have the nerve to talk. This is the good son you raised. She gently patted my hand, as if to reassure me. You too can acknowledge this child. I will not. When Adrien returned, I was packing in the closet. He had been smoking on the terrace all afternoon. I asked a servant to take the clothes I no longer wanted and throw them away. I didn't touch the jewelry. I had no use for it. Adrien had given it all to me, and I had barely worn any of it. Adrien stubbed out his cigarette, slid open the glass door, and came in. He seemed to be holding something, which he then put back in his pocket. What are you doing? I was putting things into my suitcase and answered casually. Packing. He leaned against the doorframe, looking confused. Are you moving to the family estate? I know I've wronged you in this. I can apologize. This place is closer to your hospital. If you're moving out because you don't want to see me, I can move out. You don't have to inconvenience yourself. After packing the last item, I zipped up the suitcase and locked it before finally looking at him. I opened the bedside table drawer, took out a manila envelope, and handed him the document. Sign it. Adrien didn't take it. His dark gaze was fixed on the 5 large words on the cover. Divorce agreement. My arm was getting tired. I couldn't figure out what he was thinking, so I just placed the agreement on the table in front of him. As for the division of assets, if you have any objections after reading it, we can discuss it. Adrien asked in a low voice. You've made up your mind? I have. I should have divorced him 2 years ago. When Isabelle returned, I was delusional, believing his lies that there was nothing between them. I always thought he still liked me, even a little. Otherwise, why would he have agreed to marry me? Now I understand. His wife could be me, but his love could be for another woman. He asked me again if I had made up my mind. Where will you go without the Croft family? I didn't answer, just calmly asked him to sign. Since you're so eager for a divorce, fine, I'll sign. I don't know which word of mine had offended him. Adrien picked up the pen and signed his name with a flourish. The signature was very messy. Then, he answered a call from Isabelle right in front of me and slammed the door on his way out. I didn't understand. Why was he angry? He and Isabelle could be together openly now. Their son could enter the Croft family with his head held high. Shouldn't he be happy? Adrien wasn't always like this. He used to be good to me. When I first came to the Croft family, the other children would bully me. They would laugh at me for not having a mother or father, for being a parasite living in someone else's home. They pushed me into the pool, and I almost drowned. Adrien saved me and got into a fight with them. From then on, he always called me Camila. Camila, I'll protect you from now on. Later, I chose to study medicine, and we went to different universities. Without my knowledge, he found a first love. I don't know how he fell for Isabelle. All I know is that he said she was interesting, that she would blush after just a few words, which made him want to tease her. She was so pitifully cute. It made him want to protect her. I was pushing my suitcase downstairs when I saw Grandma. I don't care where you are right now. You get back here immediately, or you'll regret it. Adrien's tone was lazy. Grandma, don't try to fool me. She has no family now. Where else can she go besides the Croft family? It was obvious that the she he was referring to was me. Grandma hung up the phone and insisted on taking me to the airport. After we arrived and got out of the car, Grandma's cloudy eyes filled with tears, and she hugged me tightly. Promise Grandma you'll be okay. My nose stung, and a lump formed in my throat. I said goodbye to her. Just as I was about to walk into the airport, she became frantic. Camila, just wait a little longer. I've already told Adrien. He'll come. I looked at the stream of people and shook my head. He won't come. And even if he did, what would be the point? Grandma's mouth opened as if to say more, but in the end, it was just a sigh. Adrien, what do you think of this outfit? Isabelle held up a baby's outfit and called his name several times. Adrien came back to his senses and glanced at it. It's fine. For some reason, ever since his grandmother's call, he had been feeling a constant sense of unease. Faced with his indifference, Isabelle was furious. She threw down the clothes and was about to drag him to the next store. Adrien impatiently pulled his hand away. Since you don't like any of them, I'll have the driver take you home. Isabelle looked at her empty hand, her eyes reddening. She bit her lip. looking wronged. Are you tired of me? Adrien rubbed his temples, his tone softening a little. I have something to do. You go home first. Isabelle didn't make a scene. She knew that if she did, he would really get annoyed with her. When Adrien got home, the whole villa was quiet. He didn't see his grandmother, nor did he see Camila. He called a servant and asked, "The mistress left with her luggage this morning." Adrien thought he had misheard. "What did you say?" The servant kept her head down. "The old mistress personally took her to the airport." Adrien's expression darkened. Did she say where she was going? Perhaps the mistress just went out for a trip to clear her head. "She'll be back in a few days." The servant answered cautiously, afraid of angering him. "You may go." Adrien walked upstairs. He hesitated at the bedroom door for a moment before pushing it open. The bedroom was neat, but many things were missing. There was a faint outline on the wall. He reached out and touched it. Their wedding photo used to be there, in the large walk-in closet. Only his things remained. In the bathroom, only his toiletries were left. She had packed everything so neatly, not leaving a single thing of hers behind. Adrien knew Camila was not coming back. A hole seemed to open up in his chest, leaving him feeling empty. In a bar, under the flashing lights, men and women were dancing together. "Adrien, what's the occasion? Is it the wife, or the one on the side?" Adrien's brow was furrowed. He downed his drink in one go. She left. His friends were a bit confused. Seeing his dejected state, they guessed who he was talking about. "Did you and Camila have a fight?" "All couples fight. It'll be fine in a few days. She knows about the son Isabelle had for me. She wants a divorce. I told her that if she wanted, she could raise the child, and that Isabelle wouldn't affect her position as Mrs. Croft." His friend spat out a mouthful of liquor, his eyes wide. "Adrien, no one could accept their husband having a child with someone else. You should have been more careful." A sharp look from Adrien silenced him. He had been careful. It's just that one time. They had run out, and he hadn't used one. Who knew that one time would be it? His phone vibrated. He excitedly pulled it out. It was Isabelle. His eyes dimmed, and he turned off the screen. He didn't know why, but lately, the sight of Isabelle just irritated him. His friend asked him who he really liked. "You say you don't like Camila, but when she was being bullied, you were always the first to rush in. That year there was an earthquake in her region, and you were so afraid something would happen to her that you dropped a multi-million-dollar project just to find her. When Isabelle went abroad, you weren't that sad, but when you married Camila, your happiness was obvious. We all remember how you were always at the hospital when she was pregnant, driving her to and from work. You treated her like a goddess, afraid she would get hurt. When she was kidnapped at 3 months pregnant, you were seriously injured trying to save her. You even ruined the other party and sent them to prison to get revenge for her." Adrien didn't know what he felt for Camila. That night, she had come to him. "Adrien, I know you have someone you like. If you don't want to, we can call off the engagement." What had he said? He had said, "Marrying you is my own choice." After they were married, he rarely thought of Isabelle. He would pick her up from the hospital after work, and they would go home for dinner together. After dinner, they would lie on the sofa and watch movies. When they had free time, they would go on trips, even if it was just to a nearby city. When he found out she was pregnant, that they were having a child, he was so happy he couldn't sleep all night. All of that ended when Isabelle returned. At first, when she came to interview for the position of his secretary, he thought she was capable. He believed that work and personal feelings should be kept separate, or maybe he had a selfish motive. He hired her. He always remembered he was a married man, but every time he saw Isabelle being bullied, looking so pitiful, she always managed to stir his protective instincts. At a cocktail party, he couldn't resist and ended up with her. He had to admit, the feeling with Isabelle was different from with Camila. Isabelle could match his desires, no matter the position, but he couldn't with Camila. He couldn't impose those sordid thoughts on her. Sometimes, when he was with Camila, he felt guilty. He would try to convince himself that in the world of the wealthy, this was normal. Later, when Camila found out, she had a huge fight with him. The first time, he coaxed her, because it was his fault. The second time, he thought she was being unreasonable. Even after he found out Isabelle was pregnant, he did nothing. He really wanted a child. He had even planned a way out, to bring the child into the Croft family under the guise of adoption. He thought Camila would never know, that he could hide it from her forever. But he was wrong. There are no secrets that can be kept forever. Adrien grabbed his suit jacket and stumbled out. He wanted to apologize to Camila, to ask her to come back, but the other end of the line was just a cold, female voice. "The number you have dialed is switched off. Please try again later." He smashed his phone in frustration. Adrien, why did you drink so much? A slender figure ran over to support him. Adrien looked at the familiar person, his eyes welling up, and pulled her into his arms. He knew Camila loved him so much that she wouldn't really leave, until Isabelle hugged him back and said, Adrien, pulling him back to reality. The cold wind blew, and the alcohol's effects began to clear. A faint scent of perfume lingered in the air. Camila never wore perfume. She hadn't called him that in a long time, hadn't been close to him. Adrien suddenly pushed her away. The person in his vision was not Camila, it was Isabelle. Isabelle was stunned by his sudden action. Adrien, what's wrong? He didn't say a word and walked away dejectedly. The driver respectfully opened the car door for him. To the family estate. The driver glanced at the man in the back seat through the rearview mirror and asked cautiously, Mr. Croft, what about Miss Reed? Adrien pressed his temples. I said, to the family estate. Can't you hear me? At the Croft family estate. Adrien knelt in the courtyard. No matter how much he begged, his grandmother refused to see him. The night sky rumbled with thunder, followed by a cool breeze. Soon, the rain came down in sheets. Grandma Croft stood at the window. Adrien knelt in the rain, his back straight, completely soaked. She finally couldn't bear it anymore. What are you doing here? Water dripped from his clothes onto the floor. Adrien knelt on the ground, his voice hoarse. Grandma, please, tell me where Camila is. Camila is gone. She's not coming back. Grandma Croft was furious. What's so good about that Isabelle? Did she cast a spell on you? You won't even listen to me anymore. I told you Camila was leaving. You didn't believe me. Now, what are you regretting? Yes, when Camila was leaving, his grandmother had told him, but he refused to believe it. Grandma Croft looked at him, her eyes filled with disappointment. For so many years, I've treated Camila as my own granddaughter. I was afraid that if I were gone one day, she would be all alone. If I had known you were such a scoundrel, even if you are my own grandson, I would never have let you marry her. Adrien's face gradually turned pale, his clenched fists loosened helplessly. I genuinely wanted to marry Camila. I never thought of divorcing her. She could see that her grandson still had feelings for Camila, but he couldn't see it himself. Grandma Croft sighed. What's the use of saying all this now? It's too late. She had a servant hand him a file. Take a good look at what kind of person Isabelle really is. He slowly reached for the DNA test report. His pupils constricted, and the veins on the back of his hand bulged. A mixture of anger and hatred. He crumpled the paper in his hand and was about to go find Isabelle to settle the score. Adrien had people smash the villa. Lightning flashed outside, and the sound of things breaking inside was deafening. Isabelle had never seen such a scene and screamed in terror. Adrien, make them stop. This is our home. She reached out with a trembling hand to pull at his sleeve but was thrown off before she could touch him. Adrien threw the paternity test report in her face, his eyes blazing as he stared at her. Who gave you the nerve to lie to me? This child is not mine. No, it's not like that. It can't be. Isabelle cried. Let me explain. Adrien's eyes were bloodshot. He grabbed her by the neck. I've been good to you. Whatever you wanted, I gave you. But why did you lie to me about this? You didn't go abroad because Camila forced you. It was because you took the $200,000 my grandmother offered you and willingly left. Back then, the Croft Corporation was facing a business crisis. His grandmother had used it to test Isabelle. Isabelle, thinking the family was going bankrupt, took the money and left the country. Later, after she had spent it all, she shamelessly became someone else's mistress. When she found out the Croft family had not gone bankrupt and was thriving, she immediately broke up with her new boyfriend and came back to him. He was truly insane to have believed her lies. Seeing Isabelle was about to suffocate, Adrien let go, his voice cold as he ordered his men, throw her and this bastard out, and notify everyone. Blacklist Isabelle Reed from all industries. Anyone who dares to hire her is an enemy of the Croft family. He pinched her chin. I will make you live on the streets in misery. Isabelle was dragged out, crying and screaming. Adrien, even without me, Camila is not coming back. She's not coming back. Adrien sat amidst the wreckage, surrounded by countless empty bottles and trash. Camila was gone. His job was gone. That day, his grandmother had told him to go home and reflect. The company was handed over to his father, as the heir to the Croft family. To have become like this because of a woman, he was a failure, a disgrace to his grandmother's and father's years of teaching. Adrien, with a stubbled chin, clutched the ring in his hand and held it to his heart, tears of regret streaming down his face. He had had it retrieved from the pool after the party. He had always wanted to find a chance to put it back on Camila's finger. He never thought it would end like this. His phone rang for a while before he finally answered. Mr. Croft, we found news of the mistress. Without a second thought, Adrien said, book me a flight. But, Mr. Croft, that area is in a state of war. I don't care. Book me a flight immediately. If there are no direct flights, get me a connecting one. 3 years later, the war ended. I boarded a flight back to the city, but this time, I was carrying an urn. Her name was Hannah. She was also from my city. When we first arrived in that war-torn region, it was the first time we were so close to war, so close to death. The town and streets were filled with smoke, the air thick with the smell of gunpowder and the undeniable scent of blood. The wails and cries around us told the story of what this country was going through. It was the first time in my life I had felt so hopeless, so helpless. I wanted to help them, but besides treating the sick, there was little I could do. That day, after finishing a surgery, we sat together, looking at the moon, talking. We made a promise that when the war was over, we would go home together, but later, she died on this land. I held a scalpel, but I couldn't save her. I watched her life slip away before my very eyes. Her face was pale. With her last bit of strength, she took my hand. Camila, you have to be okay. You promised me you'd take me home. I wiped away my tears and walked out of the airport. I looked at the bustling city, so peaceful, no war, but in 3 years, it had changed so much I almost didn't recognize it. I took her home, to her parents. Her mother's eyes instantly turned red. After I left, she broke down, sobbing. When my parents' ashes were sent back, my grandmother was just as heartbroken. I also cried so much. I looked at the clear blue sky and took a deep breath. I hope there will be no more war in the world, no more bloodshed and sacrifice. I went to the Croft family estate to see Grandma. After all, in this city, she was the only one I still cared about. In the 3 years I had been gone, she had aged considerably, her hair now completely white. Adrien's father also looked much older. When she saw me, she was in a daze for a moment, constantly asking, "Is that my Camila?" I choked back tears. "It's me, Grandma. I'm back." Her eyes glistened with tears. She pulled me into her arms and wept softly. "Camila, Adrien, he's gone." From Grandma, I learned that in the 4th month after I left, Adrien had found out where I was. On his way to the airport, he was in a car accident and died on the spot. The driver was Isabelle Reed. She was sentenced to death for it. Hearing this, besides surprise and shock, I felt nothing. The years with Adrien felt so long ago, so long that I could barely remember them. "This is what he was holding on to before he died. I think he wanted you to have it." Grandma placed the diamond ring in my palm. It was the wedding ring I had thrown away, still perfectly preserved. I looked down. On my ring finger, the faint mark from the ring was long gone. This ring no longer had any meaning. I looked at the evening clouds, buried the ring in the garden, and with it, that part of my life. Epilogue. The day I was diagnosed with cancer, I felt like my world was collapsing. I couldn't accept it, and I didn't know how to tell Amelia. I chose to escape, to drink myself into a stupor at a bar. That night, at the bar, I saw Haley being harassed and stepped in to help her. In my drunken haze, I mistook her for Amelia and slept with her. I didn't know that day. Amelia had called me many times. I didn't know she had been in a car accident. By the time I rushed to the hospital, it was the next morning. I knelt on the floor and repented. Amelia was angry. It took me a long time to win her back. I went for another checkup, refusing to believe I could have cancer at such a young age. They must have made a mistake, but the results were just as disappointing. During this time, I kept in touch with Haley. I learned she had a gambling-addicted father and was forced to work at a bar to pay off his debts. I felt sorry for her and paid off her debts. I allowed her to be in my life. When I was with her, I could vent all my frustrations. To be precise, ever since the diagnosis, I had been suppressing my emotions and desperately needed an outlet, or I would have gone insane. But I couldn't do that to Amelia. I was recklessly cheating on her. At the same time, I was terrified she would find out. I suddenly thought, it would have been better if I had never gotten cancer. The better Amelia treated me, the more guilty I felt. I had wronged her, until Haley suddenly told me she was pregnant. I started to confess to Amelia, blaming part of it on her. Seeing her cry, my heart ached. "Ethan, let's get a divorce." Hearing her say that, I should have been happy. She deserved someone better. I shouldn't hold her back, but I wasn't happy at all. I wanted her to leave me, but I also didn't want her to leave me. I selfishly wanted to keep her by my side, so I said those awful things. "I promise to be good to you for the rest of our lives, Amelia. If you want, you will always be Mrs. Hayes, we can just go on as before. And her, I'll buy a villa and set her up there. I won't let her bother you. Amelia slapped me across the face. Ethan, get out. The day I was with Haley, I thought a lot. I thought divorcing Amelia was the best choice. I took Haley home with me, determined to be with her. Amelia calmly presented the signed divorce agreement and left. The next morning, I went back and saw her packing. I wanted to rush over, hug her, and say, don't leave me, but I was no longer worthy, no longer had the right. My clenched fists loosened helplessly. I brought you breakfast. You should eat something before you pack. At the dining table, I told her she could have the house. Amelia said, no, thank you. I knew she didn't want to see me, didn't want these memories anymore. After the new year, I went back. The housekeeper was cleaning. I asked out of habit, where's Mrs. Hayes? We haven't seen her since we got back. I knew Amelia was probably gone. I pushed open the upstairs bedroom door with a trembling hand. Amelia was not there. All her things were gone. At night, I stood on the balcony, smoking. I looked at the familiar phone number over and over, then closed the app. Are you asleep? Where are you living now? I typed and deleted, never sending a single message. I closed the messaging app and chain-smoked several more cigarettes. During the day, I acted normal, spending time with Haley. The child in her belly was mine. After all, a Hayes. My parents only had me. They had always wanted a grandchild. Now they would have one. After Haley gave birth, she found out I was dying of cancer. She was no longer gentle and kind, but a shrew. I thought I was so lucky to meet you. I was pregnant with your child. I could marry into a rich family. But who would have thought you were dying? I'm so young. I don't want to be a widow. Ethan, why? You gave Amelia half your fortune when you divorced. I gave you a son. And I get nothing, not even a wedding. I owed her that. Haley's eyes were filled with hatred, her questions hysterical. And what about me, Ethan? In the end, you only ever loved Amelia. My voice was dry, my tone indifferent. You're not even a strand of her hair. I only married you because of the child in your belly. I never loved you. Haley lost control. She swept everything off the bedside table, including the water glass in my hand. Ethan, you hypocrite. Your illness is your punishment. I closed my eyes, unwilling to look at the madwoman before me. If Amelia were here, she wouldn't be like this. Amelia would cry, would feel sorry for my illness, would take care of me. My assistant came in. I pushed myself up and motioned for him to give the card to Haley. There's 10 million in here. You can go. Haley was unwilling but still took the card. Everyone thought she had taken the money and run off with someone else. No one knew that I had had her sent to a mental institution under a new name. Since we had been together, jewelry, villas, whatever she wanted, I gave her. I even paid off her father's debts. Why couldn't she just be content? How dare she ask me for 200 million? She deserved a bad end, just like me. It's better for her to be insane. After I die, she won't bother my parents. And that child doesn't need a mother like her. The Hayes family will give him the best of everything. The pain was excruciating. Every day was a living hell. Fortunately, heaven wasn't completely cruel to me. It let me see Amelia one last time. She was still so beautiful, just like the first time I saw her at the party, but she seemed to have really moved on. No longer in love with me. I had tried so hard to win her over. And then I had gone to great lengths to marry her, to make her my wife. Mrs. Hayes, we could have separated in a more dignified way, but I was possessed, chose to cheat, chose to hurt her so deeply in such an unbearable way. It was you, Ethan, you who lost her. You can't blame anyone else. All of this is your punishment. I let out a bitter laugh. Fine, it's better that she's moved on. My Amelia was always meant for a better life.